Hi there, welcome to Watcher of Realms. Today I'm just going to be sharing with you the new legendary hero that has come about, the horse guy known as Fenris, as you see there, a marksman, kind of like a centaur, like Apsan, but this time they're a tile unit, which is quite interesting. But should you summon for them right now, when in the future you could have an upcoming limited hero in which you need a guaranteed amount of 200 summons, the standard ones you see there, like the blue crystals? Or do you negotiate and say, do you know what, we'll use the divine summoning ones for a chance of getting Fenris, or maybe even Magda for first time, or even her A1, which is actually pretty good. When deployed, immediately restores 5 cost. That's good, such as like with Arena, you want to deploy her in quick, or as quick as possible, and still have enough cost to be able to afford somebody else shortly afterwards. It's a good deal. And Magda is actually a good hero herself, for even the Gear Raid 1. Her ultimate can push back enemies and deal some great damage and width as well. But we're mainly focused on Fenris today. But you do have the likes of Oleg as well. Great defender, a Northerner, worth taking in mind. Fenris is also a Northerner, a bit of a pattern and trend there. If you got like a Northerner legendary lord, it could pair well with Fenris, of course, and Oleg for the shield, definitely survivability. But we need to look at what Fenris is capable of. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I'll be honest. I did try summoning, and I did do a divine summoning myself. I did not use any, invocation spirits, as you can see by the number. Not done any. The special divine, I did pull a legendary. It was not Fenris, but I actually got Brocare. So to be honest, I was better off. I think Brocare is he a Northerner? I think he is. Anyway, let's go on to the unit right now. The latest Northerner. He's only a Northerner. I would argue and say if Fenris was a part of the Piercer faction as well, then he might be more worth summoning for that range. It says, under the ancient god's dark influence, Fenris shed his mortal coil. I mean, visually, definitely really good. It's like galaxy, nebula type space patterns going on. Where it could cosmic shift or cosmic burst. This cosmic theme kind of reminds me to an extent of Ingrid with some of her abilities. Very interesting. It's a multi-target attack, durability. His talent, when the hero has a shield, increases his basic attack range. That's good. Basic attack and cosmic burst inflicts slow upon enemies. And in terms of the slow, movement speed minus 50%. A pretty good buff, but take in mind that if there is a stronger one, it probably will overpower this. I don't know if there's a 75% slower one debuff, but if there is, you're going to be using Fenris, might not be as viable, usable. And there are some things on him that do not stack, and that's what makes him undesirable. His cost is 22. That's pretty expensive. He doesn't have an arena passive or ability where he can reduce his cost. You've got to take that into consideration. But his AoE physical attack, good damage range, deals 100% damage, and you can increase it up to level 5, up to 5 enemies. Decent. Prioritizes airborne units. Of course, if you're thinking of using them in the arena mode, more so for the AoE air units, then Fenris would be a good option. But in terms of who he can link up with as being a Northerner, that's a major problem. Because when we look at who's on here, you're going to use it for the air AoE arena. What do we have? We've got Glaciers who can slow down people, but it's not the most desirable one. We've got Lynx. Is it Lynx? Who isn't that good, actually underwhelming, so that's not great. And also we got Lubu, but he wouldn't really be used for that. Ardea, nope, not for Air Arena. There isn't much choice. Maul, maybe. People have said that Fenris is a more upgraded version of Maul. Yeah, I think, to be honest, you're probably better off using Fenris for the AoE DPS ground units to push them back, to hold them back so they don't pass through. Slow them down. The Onerous Vow passive, when allies on the battlefield have a shield, they gain rage regen. So as long as there's a shield, rage regen occurs. If you've got a legendary lord or a lord that can, give you a shield over time, well, that's going to help here with the rage regen. If you've got Vortex, the healer, that can put shields on everybody in range, rage regen, that's all great, yeah? Restores 1% rage per second, takes effect only when stronger than the current buff debuff on the same attribute. So it's not like you compare Fenris and its rage regen with time. You can't combine or stack with Eloin, who does rage regen 1% per second. If you could, then maybe Fenris would be more desirable. So it is quite negative at the moment, but it's just being honest and realistic. His auto cosmic burst, when an enemy enters attack range, 300% damage dealt to one enemy. Decent. 220% damage up to 5 nearby enemies of this target. That's great. The effect can be triggered one time every 12 seconds. You can reduce the cooldown by 2 seconds, which is decent. And damage to main target by 100%. So if you fully upgrade, you'll be dealing 400% damage to one enemy and much more to 5. So it's pretty good, this auto. But we're really here for his ultimate manual. Great range, as you see. The cost is already cheap at 900. You can take it off by 200. It would be 700 cost. It only lasts 2 seconds long. That is the one problem. It sounds great, but there is a big drawback, and I'll explain it. Knocks back up to 10 enemies in range with 2 times strength. That is great. Just as good, if not better, than Maul. And then some other units that can push back, like Magna. 10 enemies you can push back. That's really good for the Gear Dungeon 2, I think it is, or Gear Dungeon 1, when you got to push back those enemies so they don't push all the way through. Holding back Fenris, to some extent, could be applied in Gear Raid 1, pushing 10 enemies back, but because it's a tile unit, how you push them back, you're not pushing them away from the wall. Like with Magna, she's a ground unit. She's facing the wall, so enemies that are facing her will be pushed back away from the wall. Fenris is a tile unit, so it doesn't quite work the same way. So there's drawbacks. But nevertheless, Undying Will, dealing 600% AoE damage and inflicting stun on them. The hero also gains a shield equal to 50% max HP for 10 seconds. A little bit of survivability. The damage by 200% if you upgrade to level 4. So you're going to be doing like 800% AoE damage. But because it only lasts like 2 seconds, and you can see the example of it, you throw your spears out, pushes them back, and it's a one-time thing. Now, if it was to last for maybe 10, 15 seconds and you could do as much as 600% AoE damage, or to balance it out, maybe 200 to 300% AoE damage for about 15 seconds with pushback, then I think Fenris would be a lot better. I know some people would probably say, oh, it's too overpowered, but Undying Will, when awakened, grants allies in range a shield equal to 25%, just for survivability in areas. Cost -3. It's okay, but to be honest, it should have been -5. I think that would have been more fair. Cosmic Burst inflicts defense reduction on enemies, which is good, but to be honest, to have him awakened number 3, if this was awakened 1, that would be a lot better. Defense by -20%, which is pretty good. Penetration, not much there. And number 5, increases the damage multiplier of Undying Will by 300%. Massive. So we go back to Undying Will. 7, 8, like over 1,000 damage to like 10 enemies, which is great, but I just don't think it's good enough when you look at him overall. If you got, some summons to spend or spare, If you've got more than enough invocation ones for a limited in the future and you've got leftovers, maybe use it on Fenris if you want to complete your little collection of Northerners. You don't have a hero already that can push enemies back, then you're probably best getting Fenris, but he's not the be-all and end-all. However, Magna is more desirable, in my opinion. So you get Magna over Fenris, that's all good. If you do use special divine summonings, there's no harm in using them up because they're away separate from the invocation ones. And the limited pools, limited summons are to do with invocation only, not divine. So use one or the other. And of course, as for the special ancient summonings, some people say it's worth doing, others say it's not. You do what you think. I tried, worked out all right. I'll have gameplay for that at a later point. But that's just a little look into Fenris. Hopefully you found the video helpful, and good luck if you do pull.